I'd like to say hello to those that will check this out as it's live and those who will come on after it's over. I want to speak on a pretty critical issue that I haven't talked much about in the past, other than um, in, I think it was called Why We'll Never Get Anywhere, but that wasn't entirely um, expressed in the same way I'm about to talk about this. So I've done some thinking over the course of the last couple of days about why you go on these websites like YouTube, for example, and you see people who will go on a video, and even if it's a view that dissents from their own, they'll go into the comment section and argue back and forth with people who have views opposed to their own. Let me say hello to Dirk. And it will go on for pages. You'll see 50, 60 replies until one side gets tired out and is just, sick of it. But you've also seen this with my own content where you've had, in Weird Dark Times too, for example, me engage in this back and forth with a user that didn't solve anything and kind of, took up the majority or bulk of that stream. And in kind of reminiscing on that and the other, encounters of people going and having these lengthy back and forths, I came to an epiphany where I said, most issues can be fixed or at least brought to a compromise if both sides are willing to either concede major parts of their own belief system or attempt to seriously forge something with the other person. So, for example, um, if, in that stream, I was talking about how you have if you're an African American and you're the victim of homicide, 90% of the time you're likely to have been killed by someone that's of your own ethnicity. That's a fact. Um, and I said, I'm not opposed to talking about the police incidents because personally, I don't think they should be treated the same way that black on black massacres have been, where it doesn't even make the local news now. You have to go online to look for it sometimes. So I would prefer it's spoken of. And I didn't think that was a controversial view to just say both things should be talked about. It's admittedly a little bit more slanted in the direction of the person who opposes my view, because personally I think the majority of these killings, which are within that group, should be talked about more often. But nonetheless, it's still a view that attempts to support the base idea of the other side, which is that this type of incident is one that is recurring and it needs to be um, talked about. So in saying both should be discussed, I didn't think I was doing anything wrong. Let me say hello to O'Donohue. But sure enough, I get these commenters, and some of them are laying out their points in a respectful manner. Then you had another person who was talking about how he hoped I was the victim of brutality by officers. And I said to myself, this person either didn't watch the stream, or if they did, is just being unreasonable. And I guess that's kind of what I'm trying to convey here. If two sides who are on, or two people who are on different sides, agree on a reasonable, or attempt to be reasonable, just make compromises and concessions, you can actually forge out something that gives both sides what they want. Um, for example, with the Iran nuclear deal, which, I mean, as I've kind of sat back and read the actual deal, I thought it was slanted in favor of Iran. I'm starting to think it's the other way around. We were able to inspect their nuclear test sites. They had to give up a majority of their uranium, and all we gave them was the removal of sanctions we imposed on them. So both sides, even if it's tipped to the, we can argue back and forth about who gets more. Both sides still received something, um, and it was fine for at that point until it obviously got repealed a couple of days ago. O'Donohue says political parties are the main causes of division. Yeah, but you have to understand that even in having the different parties, you still have views that generally cross party lines. I guarantee you, if you ask most Democrats and Republicans and independents, do you think research into the prevention of cancer is a major thing we should invest time and effort into? They'll probably say yes. I know that the majority of people, for example, support gay marriage. Um, it's like 60% or something above that number. That was one of the reasons that Obama and Hillary switched sides after being opposed to it during their 2008 presidential campaigns. They knew they couldn't get away with that anymore. But that's another issue for another day. So, really, what I'm trying to convey with the title of the stream and just with what's being discussed here is that I have seen too often, whether it's talking about something political or something that's going on in a local community, this tendency to blame one thing or another, and then when someone tries to make a counterpoint, just shut off all types of communications. And I can kind of get it when you're the content creator. It can get annoying when you have someone writing paragraphs in your live stream chat room and trying to get you to go back and forth with them. But if they do it in a way to where they're acknowledging the validity of some of your claims, as I've done with some of the charges that have been levied toward my opinions on things, I don't really see what the problem with it is. Okay. Oh, I didn't even respond to Dirk. He said this is because we prefer our echo chamber of news. Yeah. I would consent to that. So I think people are getting a little tired. I'm gonna have to probably end up wrapping this up soon because I don't like it when someone watches on the replay and they get mad and go, "This was supposed to be about the differing of views. Why aren't you talking about that? Why are you staring into the camera?" Most of us didn't. We're just kind of acknowledging of the fact that when you talk about something for 30 or 40 minutes, you might get off topic for a little bit, but that's lost in some corners. So I will definitely have something out tomorrow. But I want it to be understood that you can't. People think that the division is the result of everyone just hating everybody, and that's not the case. You have factions, and in those factions you have people who do not want to. You kind of have a my way or the highway type mentality, and they tend to be louder than the other ones who are more reluctant to just fully push themselves into one corner. For as much as I talk about, for example, my distaste for many corporate politicians, if they do something decent, I'll throw them a bone. So, for example, I think I've said a couple of times I can't stand either one of California's senators. Just I've talked about that before, but Harris during her interrogation of that CIA nominee, I thought was good. Asked the right questions. Kind of, if I were to give it any critique, I would just say that it didn't frame torture as something that you could actually, that was not a political issue. So the person was able to answer, do you think it's legal or illegal? It is illegal, according to the laws of the U.S. and of the International Accord. But I know people are getting tired. That's why somebody just left. So that's an example of where someone who doesn't usually fall under my radar of liking still was able to get my approval on something they did. And that's happened a couple of times with, that senator in particular. Now, Envoy, I was getting ready to close this up. People are disinterested in this topic. And I don't even know if I'm going to start back up again because I have things I intend to do later on. So I might just end it here and just give up because no one is really into this topic. Maybe daylight saving time struck earlier and everyone fell asleep or something. I'm not sure. So I like when you get ready to call it quits and give up, then a couple more people come in there. That's a running theme where we'll talk about one thing and then whereas you're saying, oh, well, no one's answering me, I guess it's time to go. Someone says, hey, I just showed up. Yeah. Um, but to give you a summary, Envoy, I was trying to talk about how the division that is currently within the U.S. at least is the direct result of both sides being uncompromising um, in their view. I think people are going to like tomorrow's topic more, which is about, to give you a preview, the most overrated president in American history, in my opinion. And it's one I like, but I mean, the levels of hero worship and deifying, you would think that man was the second coming of Christ. And I've kind of gotten sick of it in recent times because I've noticed. No, it's not Trump. Yeah, Envoy. And the thing I hate is that you have people who can't see this for what it is. They make it seem as if, okay, so like for example, I've talked about liking gun control. A lot of times I'll go and leave some comment that kind of indicates that. And I'm not going to tell you game MLG. We're gonna save that for. I'll put the person's face as the thumbnail, so people will probably get that. Um, but what I spoke about was my favoring of gun control. Now people disagree with that opinion, so I said, okay, well, since we have a Republican legislator, or rather a Republican Congress and White House, why don't we pass some kind of law that makes it to where every public place, for example, schools and libraries and restaurants, that all those things have to have at least two armed officers at all times, just across the U.S. Okay, Envoy says it's allegiance. What's even worse, are even people expect to be part of a certain party. You must be. It's actually kind of funny you mentioned that, Envoy, because we've seen many. I mean, think about it. All of these, you know, Democratic politicians, certainly out of the major national ones, whether it's Obama or Clinton, either of them, Bill or Hillary, they're rich, and a lot of them were rich before they took office. So I think that's amusing. You know, I don't know if I've mentioned before. One of my favorite presidents, Truman, was so poor that after he left the White House, he had to go and live with his mother-in-law. That was before you had the lifetime pension and all that. He was also the last one who didn't get a college degree, but we can. I don't want to get too off topic. Making a Discord channel. I've never considered it, and I don't intend to do it just because. I mean, you might get two people in there if you're lucky. So I would rather not. But I certainly, and I do. Good luck, MLG. I just hope you realize that you that 2030 is an actual presidential election year. So just take the next election and add four until you get to the 2030s. You'll see when the next one is coming up. Helping during the Great Depression. Um, yeah, Hoover is. So I don't think his presidency was that good, but his activities out of office and prior to entering office actually are of decency. But that's you know, something we can go into later on. I do think tomorrow's topic will have everyone more wanting to participate. Um, yeah, Envoy's over there talking about FDR. That's the worst part about saying one of these presidents by their last names. You still have people who actually will say, "Who are you talking about?" If I say Nixon, I'm talking about. If I say Reagan, I'm talking about. I mean, some of these names are just synonymous. Especially if you just say, president, and then the person's name, because a couple of them, do have the same last name. Just a little running theme there. But yeah, I didn't intend for the topic to, um, not arouse the interest of the people in the stream. Hopefully, tomorrow's will be more receptive. I think that stream will be probably sometime during the afternoon, maybe early morning, but I wouldn't count on it. So we'll we'll see. So thank you for watching and have a good day.